just here at Target, just kind of hanging out. We really shouldn't be here that long. Daddy's not as disciplined as he thought he was. So for Exodus 28 and 29, I'm going to run you through the Logos thing, but what's going to happen after I'm done with that, we're going to transition immediately to me, Justice, and Zion. Well, really, me and Justice, well, actually just me, trying to put together a printer. So the transitions might seem a little weird in this vlog, but that's what's coming. Okay, welcome to another edition of the interactive infographs from Faith Life Study Bible here on Logos. And as you know, today is Exodus 28 through 29, and we are looking in these passages at the high priestly garments as well as the consecration of the high priest. So we're going to run through this infograph here, and we're just going to go according to what is listed up here on the top center to right hand corner of the screen. It's not in order in terms of what is in chapter 28 of Exodus, but that's okay. First, well, you're going to start with the pants, alright? So it's made of linen, and once again, the descriptions are over here on the left, as you can see, to cover kind of just some brief details about these different aspects. So the pants is a very important part of high priestly garment. Then we turn to the tunic. This is just their tunic that they would have worn over their pants underneath all these different aspects of the doohickey. So now we have the belt or the sash, and this is made of linen and 3 colors of wool, and obviously its purpose is to keep the priest's pants up, but it also served in terms of a holy aspect to their garb. So there's more detail you can get into that, but it's important to note there. And then we go to the robe, and this is what would have been worn right underneath the ephod. And on this robe, at the very bottom, you'll notice there's these different round things. So there is these kind of wool balls that were made along with these gold bells. And the idea was whenever the high priest was in the Holy of Holies doing his priestly duties, if you heard the bells, you knew the priest was still alive. The moment you don't hear the bells, you knew he was dead because he did something wrong or whatever in the presence of the Lord. And so these bells were to help with that. And as many as 72 of these wool pomegranates, if you were, would be fastened to the hem of this robe. And yeah, it just signifies just the importance of the holiness that was required of these priests in their interaction with the Lord. Now we move on to the ephod, and the ephod is where the main aspects of this garb is taking place. This is where we find the breastplate as well as the Urim and the Thummim. I think I'm saying that correctly, and the stones that are upon the shoulders. So. And you know, it's going to be talked about here, but you see here on the top here, there's these gray round deals on the shoulders. So these were stones. Each one of these were stones, and on one stone were 6 of the names of the sons of Israel, and on the other side was the other 6. And I love this imagery that the names of the people of Israel were on the shoulders of the high priest, and I think it signifies them bearing the burden of the people's sins as they're going into the presence of God. So really cool symbology here, but those were what those stones are up there for, and you can read that in the chapter. And next we go to the breastplate, and man, we could spend hours and hours on this because this is way cool. But you see here there are 4 stones going down and 3 across, making for a total of 12. And so each stone represent a tribe of Israel, and the fact that it was over the breastplate, over the heart of the priest, I think speaks significantly, and I'll mention this later in the vlog, about God having the people upon his heart, and that he was going before the priest was going before the presence of God with the people upon their heart. It wasn't just some ritual or some practice, but the priest had a genuine love and a care for the people in terms of having them over his heart. And then also, this is the Urim and the Thummim. I think if you said that correctly, but this is basically were objects that were used for deciding was something God's will or was something not God's will. And so I believe that's what this little paper deal here is sticking out, what that signifies. And let's go ahead and move on. We're going to move up to the head here. We have the turban, obviously just covering the head. And this turban would have been approximately, as you can see over here, 24 feet long. So it's winding around their heads tightly. And then a key aspect of the turban here is we see this crown. And this is talked about later on in the chapter, but what would have been written on this crown here would have been the words, "Holy to the Lord." And this was to show the high priest's holiness and coming into the presence of God and being able to make restitution and atonement for the people's sins. And it was over his head, obviously a significant part of that. So that's really kind of in a nutshell what you have in terms of the high priestly garments here in Exodus 28. And then chapter 29 is the process of them consecrating them. It's a really long chapter. Read it. It's awesome in terms of its detail. But I think in the midst of chapter 29, we see God, his heart, especially for holiness when it comes to these priests, that there is so much that they do. There is so much that happens in terms of their consecrating process, but it's because it's important. You're dealing with God Almighty, who is holy, and we want to make sure that we are consecrating ourselves and making sure we're being set apart for this special work. So there you have it. That's really it in terms of this aspect of the high priestly garments. Once again, it's really cool stuff. I'll make another plug for Logos. If you do not have Logos, get it. If you have it, use it. This is an awesome tool, awesome resource to be able to give to others. So, and to share the gospel with those who don't know the Lord. So, yeah, let's go put together a printer now. So I think watch out, Justice. I think the big takeaway with Exodus chapter 28 and 29 about the similar to yesterday, when there's just a lot of detail that we can't really go into for the sake of time, but the overall idea you see here is, I just ripped some tape off, but I don't know if I was supposed to. Is God had a very specific purpose and plan.
On the floor.
Oh, it's okay. God had a very specific purpose and plan for the priest, and there's a lot of special things to... What are you doing? I love how with the priestly garments, you just see so much of God's heart for His people. Sure. God's heart for His people, even on the garments. Like, the two rocks on the shoulders, how they have the names of the sons of Israel, and then on the ephod, the breastplate that had the 12 different stones representing the 12 tribes of Israel over the heart of the priest, which I think is symbolic of God having a heart for His children, having a heart for His people. And ultimately, while all these laws about high priests are being carried out and their garments and all that stuff, ultimately Christ is the ultimate high priest who intercedes for us on our behalf. And it's only through Christ that you and we have access to God through His death and His resurrection. And it's exactly what the high priest served as, was a type of mediator, someone that gave the people access to God. And you just see it with all of the pieces of the garment and everything that the priest had to do and the whole consecrating process. And it's just, once again, very similar to yesterday's vlog, that you see very much God wanting to be with and wanting to dwell with His people and be near to His people and be close to His people, that He had them over his chest, over his heart, because he cares about him so much. And I think even the fact that the names were upon his shoulders shows that, he bears the burden. He bears the people upon his shoulders, and he's the one that takes care of them. Like I said, there's so much more we could go into detail about high priestly garments and the whole process of consecrating them. Do research on your own. It's really interesting, once again, the significance of all the different items and even the colors that are used. It's incredible. We are not. Okay, I think I really need to concentrate on setting up this printer. If I try to talk more and try to set up the printer, I feel like the printer will be set up incorrectly, and that's not good.